What's up, everybody? Welcome back to my YouTube channel. This video is probably going to be a longer one, but this, if you're really trying to learn, this is a way that I learned, and it should help you a lot. So what this video is going to be is we are going to basically follow along this guy, Renee Balke, who I've followed for a while now. He has amazing tutorials and everything for MetaTrader, which I actually completely learned how to code in MQL5 just from his channel. So if you are interested in MQL5, definitely check him out. I've watched a lot of his older videos, basically all of his tutorials. But in this one, we are going to go watch this video on how he creates a fair value gap, and we are going to do it at the same time in NinjaTrader. So this is going to be just completely just raw coding, just watching his videos. And I mean, yeah, I don't have any notes with it. And I've heard of fair value gaps, but I've never really used them or actually know how they're made or what makes one. So that's what this video is going to be for. And then at the same time, we are going to create our own fair value gap indicator for NinjaTrader while we watch it. So stick around for the whole video. If you want to get the code, I mean, just follow along. Try and keep it pretty simple. And yeah, let's get started. So far, all he's done is create a new indicator. And basically right now he's just explaining how an indicator works in MetaTrader. So what we're going to do to follow along is we're going to go to open up your Ninjascript editor, go to indicators, new indicator. We can name it fair value gaps. Let's see, on bar close. We're going to add just something just random, just so it can generate the properties stuff for us, so we don't have to do that all ourselves later. So let's create our indicator, compile it, and now open it. We'll go to indicators, and then there we go. Alright, so now we have our indicator. Alright, hopefully you guys can still see that. Alright, so I like watching his videos pretty fast, so might skip around, might, just to get it over quicker, because this is a 50-minute video, so mine is going to be, probably at least 50 minutes. But yep, let's just get started. I'll try and kind of talk along what I'm thinking, but yeah, I mean, let's see if we're even able to do this just by watching his video, or if we're going to need more resources. But yep, let's get started.
And yeah, to create this new class, we will write class and then C fair value gap. This is on name. Class names usually start with a C. If you never heard of classes or object-oriented programming, it is not not a problem for this tutorial. Then just follow along and try to understand one or two things, but you cannot understand the whole concept of object-oriented programming just by following this video. But the good thing is I already made another video where I give you a small introduction in object-oriented programming. You will find it on this channel for free. Look it up if you're interested and then come back to this video. Also, if you want to learn everything about MQL5 programming that you need from one source in a structured way, where you will just study get up and fair like this, and create a enumeration for this. Enum fair value gap type like this. And if you're interested to learn more about enums, also check out the complete course. So in this enumeration, we can have multiple values. So we will have enum of fair value gap up and fair value gap down.
All right. So right now he's basically just building classes and the enum, which I actually don't think I've done in Ninjascript before, but let's see. So we want to come outside of your onState change and outside of onVar update. So in here, right above properties, actually we'll do it right at the top, right where usually we would declare our first variables. We'll do it up here. So let's do enum. So that's good. Looks like this will be able to just copy straight from here, because both MQL5 and Ninjascript are built off C#. So we have our enum, then we also want our class. And so far, this is all he has.
Make sure that you place the comma here because there's another value following, and do not place a comma here because then the enumeration is complete. So if we compile this, we can now use this enumeration, fair value gap type, and create this type member variable for our class here. Also, we want to have the time for this fair value gap, and we want to have the high, and we want to have the low. So we want to have these 4 values for a fair value gap. So what we can do now in the onInit function, we can say something like C fair value gap, and we can create a so-called object variable that has this.
All right, so we're getting our first error. Okay. I think this should work the same. Just get rid of the public because we're already in a public class, maybe? I'm not really sure. But while we have it paused, let's copy these over.
Class as a type. So what we do here is, if we do it like this, we can declare a variable with a type of this class, and we will call it fair value gap. And now, for this fair value gap variable, we can say fair value gap type should be fair value gap up, for example. And we can say fair value gap time, it should be something like, let's get one of these fair value gaps here, or maybe we can search for it here in this chart. So let's have a look. Maybe let's go to the, let's say in the 1 hour chart, and maybe we will take this fair value gap here. So we can see that this fair value gap here, it has a timestamp of the 14th of November, 16 o'clock. So let's use this as a timestamp, right? So we can go string to time, and then we use 2023, 11:15, like this, and I think it was 16 o'clock, right? Something like this. So let's compile, and you can see now this value is stored for the fair value gap time. I mean, this doesn't really do a lot right now. False state. This doesn't do anything because we didn't write the function yet that will display the fair value gap in the chart. But no worries, we'll get there. So let's also put the fair value gap high and the fair value gap low. So let's have a look at our fair value gap again. So we will have the high here at 1.00224, 1.08224, I think like this. Hope I didn't mess it up here. And then we have the low, which is here, 1.0800, 1.080007. Something like this. So this is our first fair value gap that we want to display in the chart. Now the big problem is we cannot display it because we didn't build a function for this yet. So let's go back to our class here and then write a function for this. So we will go.
Okay, so basically what he just did is he explained how this class is going to work. So basically, the way to think about it, well, so for one, on init, this function is basically on order update. So everything he does in there, we're going to do on order update. So here's what he did. He did C fair value gap, and then so I don't know. I'm trying to explain it. I just learned it basically what an object was about a year ago, and I remember I was very confused at first. But basically, think of it like a car brand, maybe. Yeah. So C fair value gap. Think of it as like Mercedes, right? That's the car brand. But then your car brands, you have different models. So this one, so we'll just name it car, right? Now we just created a car, right? We just built it. But now that car is going to have a type, see what you got. Why can't we should be able to use these? And so basically, like with that car, we're giving it, you give it a color, you give it a price, you give it year. So kind of think of it like that, and then we can create more cars, but with different. Every car that we create is going to have, a price, a year, a color, a model, and then with our new cars, we can give them a different values, which is what he's doing here. So here, basically, FVG fair value gap is going to be one box, one fair value gap, and then he gives it all this information. Now he can create another that then would need all the same information again. So first thing we need to figure out is why we cannot do this. We should be able to do type fair value gap that type is unaccessible due to its protection level. Okay, there we go. So we do need to make these all public. So not sure why we couldn't just do like what Renee had, like that, but this works. So basically public just means we can access them from anywhere in the code. So now we have this. And let's comment this out for now, because not sure if we'll need it.
Void draw, and we will find or define a function. So here we can say in this function
So here, where he created his, that's just an example, so we don't need to copy that.
We first of all need a name for our object. So we go object name, and the name will be fair value gap plus time. Yeah, I mean, this will throw a warning here because we should use time to string to make this date time format a text format. So this is the name for our object, and the object will be this rectangle in the chart. So you can see all of these objects here, they have a different name, okay? And this is why we need a object name. Now what we do next is we check if object, if we find this object in the chart already. So we search in chart ID 0 for the object with this specific object name. And if we do not find it, object find will return -1. So if we do not find it, we then want to create it, right? Object create. In the current chart, in chart ID 0, object name should be object name again. Object type is object underscore rectangle. And then we have sub window 0, which is the main chart again. Now we have the time, the first time, which is time, of course. Then we have the price, the first price, which will be high. We have the second time here, which is time, yeah, let's just say plus, and here we can, let's get another parameter for this, time 2. And we will use this time 2 as a second parameter, and then we have the low. And this will create the object. So if we compile this, we can now say, after defining all the member variables here, or the look of this fair value gap, we can now say fair value gap draw. We can now call this function because this is a member function of this C fair value gap class. And we just have to provide a second time. And what we do here is we say, yeah, let's choose this first time and then add, or maybe let's just go ahead and say we just draw until 20 o'clock on the same day. Okay, so something like this. If we compile this, and if I didn't mess it up big time here, we should see a fair value gap displayed here. And it is. So you can see we now created a class that we can use to like draw all the fair value gaps that we want. And also we can say we want to change the look of this fair value gap rectangle. So we can say object set integer 0 for the chart ID, then object name again, and then we have object prop fill. And we can say we want to have this filled. And yeah, I mean, we only get here if the object doesn't exist. So we would have to kind of delete it first, I think. Yeah, at this point, we will add something else. We will add the onDinit function here. This is a function that you saw multiple times if you watched my expert advisor tutorials already. This is a function that will be called automatically when the program is deinitialized. Make sure to write the function signature, so this line here, exactly as I did here. So it has to be a void return type. The function name has to be exactly onDinit, like this, with a capital letter O, capital letter D, and it has to be in this violet tone. Then you need exactly one parameter, which has to be a constant int parameter, the name. Okay, this doesn't have to be reason, but I would suggest you just choose reason, and then you open and close the body of this onDinit. And in this onDinit, we want to call object delete all. Oh, objects delete all is the function. And then we can choose for what chart ID we want to delete all the objects that have a specific prefix in the name. And this is for us FVG, for the fair value gap. So if we compile the program 2 times here, we can now see the program always deletes all the fair value gap objects. And then for the next call, we can then create the object here again because it won't find the old object. So we can also go ahead and say object set integer 0, object name, object prop color. And then we want to check if the type is equal to fair value gap up. And in this case, the color should be light blue, and otherwise it should be orange, like this. And if we compile this, we should see that now this is blue because it is a fair value gap that goes up. So let's have a look if we can find a fair value gap that goes down. So let's search for one. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe this one. Wait. Maybe we choose this one here. It's
okay, so
13th of November 2023, 14 o'clock. So let's just.
Right now he's just going through basically how it works and how we're going to plot them. So
14 o'clock.
So right now he's creating another fair value gap just so you can plot the down, and so he can show that. But we are going to have to do things a little differently, mainly because there's a big difference between MQL5 and Ninjascript and when you plot things. So we're going to go ahead and copy once he goes back up to his class.
Was just to show you how our new class works.
All right, so he just finished explaining the example. So we need to get this void draw, this draw method working. So we're going to do the same thing. Date time, time 2. And then, so time to string time, we're going to take, is it the same? Time to, no, we don't have that. So this should work. Then, okay, so if I don't think there's an object find or anything similar to that in Ninjascript, at least that I've seen. Maybe drawing, draw. Oh, wait a second. Okay. We're gonna change this draw to draw FBG just so we don't get confused later, because Ninjascript has a draw, and this is how you draw whatever. Draw text. So just so we don't get confused. So I'm trying to think, how can we, I think what we're going to have to do is just draw the rectangle. So the owner, we're just going to do this. I think that just means the current chart. String tag, this is going to be the name. So this is a kind of important part. So the string tag for any object, whenever you draw something, you have to name that thing. So you put a rectangle, arrow, anything on a chart, you have to name it. Now, if you have the same name, so say we did rectangle, so if we left it like this, then every time we want to draw a new rectangle, it's going to delete the other one and move it to this one because they have the same name. So to have more than one rectangle, so basically that would end up with just one fair value gap on the entire chart. We want to plot all of them though, and we want all of them to stay. So to do that, they all need to have a different name. So for here, that is where the object name comes in. Then start time is going to be time. Start y is going to be high. End time is going to be time 2. End y is going to be low. And then brush is basically just the color. So we'll do we want to do depending on the type also. So MBG up dot light blue or dot orange. So does that work? Gotta close the parentheses. Some date time to integer. Let's see, what are we getting? Okay, so I think Ninjascript did not like this. So we'll just do brushes dots red. Oh, still doesn't like it. Okay, so it's taking the wrong one. See how it changed which version? We don't want start bars ago. We want, is there another thing after this? Double brush. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so not sure why it's hmm. Why is it doing that? So here you can see this rectangle. It can take in all these different parameters, but we just want this first set. So we have our owner, which is this. Then we have our string tag, start time, end time. Okay, so the issue is actually something with right here. So it's saying we cannot convert to this. Yeah. So let's see if we can find something. So let's go to indicators. Give me draw objects. Language reference. Indicator. So we are drawing a rectangle. Okay, So here it doesn't really say anything. The hosting Ninjascript object, which is calling the draw method. So we want to convert it to NinjaTrader.NinjaScript.NinjaScript base. NinjaTrader.NinjaScript.NinjaScript base. The type. Okay, so I've never run into this before, but I have an idea. Alright, so down here, oh, that's what we need. NinjaScript.indicators YouTube fair value gaps. So NinjaTrader.NinjaScript. No, what was it? NinjaTrader, NinjaScript indicators. Here, NinjaScript indicators YouTube fair value gaps. So it's a type. Alright, well, kind of lost on what to do there, but I think we have a way to fix it. So on the on-bar update, I guess it works. Yeah, not okay, yeah. But now we do not have any of these set in. So all we need to do is just change it to, for one, we're going to bring object down here. So basically we're going to create this same method. Let me paste that back. We're going to create this same method but outside of this class. So let's put it down here and hope that this, yeah, so it looks like this works now. And now we're just going to input everything as parameters. So we're going to do date, time, then double high, double low, and date, time 2, and the type, how would we check that? Type. Okay, so now it'll basically be the exact same as what he has here. That when he types draw, it's gonna run through all this and draw it. Now we have the same, so when we want to draw it, we just do draw FAG, but now we have to just type out everything, which will just be, car dot time, then car dot high. So just a little bit more typing for us, but it will work the same. So actually no, we need to do the brushes. So if type equals FBG up, then we do brushes dot light blue, else brushes dot orange, and another parentheses, and there we go, no errors. So in case you didn't get that part, this is actually my first time using this, just this question mark thing, but this is just checking if the type is up, then it's going to be light blue, else make it orange. The brush is orange. So we got that, and let's keep going.
And now we want to use this class later on in the onCalculate function. Because in the onCalculate function, what we want to do now, and here is the interesting part, we want to automate this whole process. So what we want to do here is we want to get a loop that loops through all the bars in the chart and then searches for fair value gaps and then automatically displays them. So we will use several of these arrays. And in fact, the time and the high and the low array. So what we want to do here first is we want to use array set as series for the time array. We want to use array set as series for the high array, and we want to use array set as series for the low array. So what does this do? So when we work with these bars, there are several ways of counting the bars. You could start at the very right side, so with the current bar, and you could say this is bar 0, this is bar 1, this is bar 2, this is bar 3, etc., etc. This is the way that most programmers are used to and comfortable with, because a lot of functions use this kind of indexing for the bars. In NinjaTrader 5 programming, the indicator or the array set as series for the high array, and we want to use array set as this is bar 0. This programmers are used to and comfortable with, because a lot of functions use this kind of indexing for the bars. In NinjaTrader 5 programming, the indicator or the arrays here that come as parameters for the onCalculate function, they do not use this indexing by default, but they are reversed pretty much. I don't know why, but it is like this. So the arrays here, for example, the time, the open, the high, the close, and every of these arrays, again, they hold a value for every single bar. But at index 0, you would not find.
So basically what he's saying, what he's typing is because on MetaTrader, like if you did, you know, high 0, on MetaTrader, that's going to take the first bar on the entire chart. So on MetaTrader, you know, it's going to come all the way back to the first bar on your chart, and it's going to take that high. Where in Ninjascript, it's already by default, if you do high 0, it's going to take the high of the most recent bar, which is what basically everyone uses. So that's why we don't need to do what he's doing.
The values for this bar, but instead you would find the value down. You can just say array set as series, then choose the array, and then you say true as a second parameter, and we just reverse the values. Index 0 will be this last bar loop. So what we want to do is, first of all, we want to create a new integer variable, which I call a limit. And this will be previous calculated. No, it will be rates total minus previous calculated, because we want to have the amount of bars that we now have to loop through. And then
okay, so to basically the limit that he's saying is the amount of bars to loop through. So for Ninjascript, that should just be current bar, but I'm not sure, so let's double check that before we go any farther. So this will just loop through, this will just keep printing the value of the current bar. So let's compile that and load it up just to double check that we have exactly what is shown in the YouTube video. Alright, remove those, and then oh wait, this is an indicator. So we need the indicators tab. YouTube. Then apply, and yeah, so see, right now we know this bar, we have 48,865 bars, because it counts up from 0, and every time a new bar is printed, it's adding 1. So, yep, that's right.
we also Oh yeah, maybe let's just start with a loop. We will then use a for loop, which makes sense because we know exactly how many times we have to loop, because we want to use a I, which is first limit. And then we want to go as long as I is greater 1, and then we want to decrease I by 1 every time. So we will start at rates total minus previous calculated.
So we're going to go ahead and do the same thing. We're going to do for int I equals current var, I is greater than or equal to 1, then we subtract 1.
I showed you before, previous calculated is 0 for the first run, so rates total will be something like, I don't know, it was 101,080 before, something like this, really big number. So we will start at the very first bar at the left side of the chart now. This is our 101,080 bar. Don't know how to say this. And then we want to loop through all of these bars, because after every iteration or every execution of the body of this for loop, I will be decreased by 1. And then we'll do this as long as I is greater or equal 1. Good, so far so good. So what we want to do now is we want to search for these fair value gaps. So we want to check, is fair value gap up? And then we want to check if, for example, here, where do we have one like this? We want to check if the bar before this fair value gap, if the high of the bar before the fair value gap is smaller than the low of the bar after the fair value gap. So what we do here is we go if high I plus 2 is smaller than low at I. And in this case, it will be a fair value gap up. Also, we have if is fair value gap down. And here we want to check if, what do we want to check? If the high of the bar before the fair value gap is higher, no, if the low of the bar before the fair value gap is higher than the high of the bar after the fair value gap, right? So we go low, I plus 2 is greater than high I. Like this. So we're searching for fair value gaps. And then we want to check if is fair value gap. Oh, maybe we can already run this and check if we get an error already, because yeah, we get an error already. You can see we get the error out of range error. And this is because we loop through the whole array. And then
Alright, so let's make sure we copy that. And luckily, this is the exact same Ninjascript as MQL5, so yep, everything looks
we
good.
use I plus 2. And this is a problem, because when we start at rates total minus previous calculated, which will be the amount of rates total, like the total amount of bars, we will start at the very first bar at the left side. But here, so this will be our I for the first run of the loop. But then we try to add 2 bars to the left side. But the problem is we are already at the left side of the chart, so there are no more 2 bars. So what we have to make sure is that we will say if limit is greater than rates total minus 2, minus 2, we want to say limit is equal to rates total minus 2, minus 3. This is how we have to do it, I think. So if we run it now, we should see no more errors. And yeah, you can see no error.
Alright, so basically what he's saying is we get a out of range error because there's not enough candles to compare 2 candles back on the first and the second candle. So what we're going to do, if we don't have 2 candles yet, then we're just going to return and yeah, we'll just return. So I don't know. Is it going to give me an error? Okay. You're accessing an index. Yeah. Okay, so on bar 2, oh yeah, or equal to. Compile that. And then we'll try it again. Bar 3. compile that. Okay, so we're still getting an error. Now, why is that? So, say current bar is 0, right? 0 plus 2, doing 2 candles back. Okay. We want to do minus, actually, because we want to compare. Yeah, that's the issue, because wait. So on the first bar, so say current bar is 10, right? We have 10 bars printed. 10 plus 2, the high of 12 candles back. No, I don't think that's right. But we'll go ahead and just try it just for the sake of it. Nope. Okay. So we're definitely getting the error in here. Okay, so now we don't get an error. So if we have 50 bars though, right, then the minimum current bar can be is 51. So 51 plus 2 is 53. Oh, okay. So we can't just do that. Okay, so that is my fault. Let's see
If we delete this line,
what he does again.
error. So that's how we can fix it. You always
So if limit rates total minus 2, limit equals rates total minus 3. So we can do if current bar is less than 3, then our can create new variable, name it int bars printed. Then our bars printed equals so if we have 3 bars, we can only check the most recent bar. So we'll do current bar minus 2.
have to make sure that you do not try to address any index of any of these arrays that does not exist. So all of these arrays here, they have a size of rates total. So you have the indexes or indices 0 until rates total minus 1. And this is why we'll have to add this line, so we do not try to address the index rates total or higher here. This is the background for this little trick.
How can we get around this? So these are our candles. So current bar 0, 1, 2, and 3. So let me just return. But then when it's 3, we're going to execute current bar. So then I equals 3. And then we're doing I plus 2. So 3 plus 2 is 5. So 5 candles back. Okay. So I think this is actually what we need to do. So the reason is, right, so say current bar is 3. So I is 3, right? I equals 3. I is greater than 1. And so we want to take the high of current bar, which is 3, minus I, which is 3. So we're going to take, which is going to be 0. And if that's greater or less than the low of this candle, so this candle is going to be candle 1. So always going to be one greater. So I think we do current bar minus I plus 1. Then that'll always, yeah, then that'll work for this candle. Now we go back through, and now I is 2. So now this is true, I is 2. Now we do current bar, which is still 3. Minus 2 is 1. So now we're working on this candle. If that's less than current bar minus I, so 3 minus 2 is 1, plus 2, then the low of this candle. Okay, yeah, so I think that works. Let's test it out real quick. Okay, so no error. So just to make sure it's working, we'll do we'll just print that. And now we should get, it's annoying you gotta remove it and add it every single time for the indicator. Oh, it says it's calculating. I mean, yeah, that's gonna be printing a lot, because that's whatever it was, 48,000 times 48,000. It's gonna be printing 48,000 values, and the 47,000th candle is gonna print 47,000 values. So yeah, I might have just crashed my Ninjascript, to be honest. Yeah, at least this chart looks crashed. Okay, well that looks like that's working. Hopefully. If it's not, we'll know and we'll come back to it.
Okay, now we have to check if we have a fair value gap. So we check if we have a fair value gap up or a fair value gap down. And if this is true, then we want to do the stuff that we did before, right? We go C fair value gap. And here we go fair value gap. And then we go fair value gap time. And this will now be time at index I. Then we have fair value gap high. And this will be, here we have to check if we have a fair value gap up. In this case, it is, I think, low at I, right? And then if it's a fair value gap down, we have low at I plus 2. And then we have to say fair value gap low is equal to is fair value gap up. So again, we check if we have a fair value gap up. In this case, it's high I plus 2, I think, otherwise.
So the time should be int bars ago. So for him, int bars ago should be current bar minus I. Let's see. Use of unassigned local variable. So All right, there we go. Then go ahead and just copy all of this. Should be the same. Low, high should be current bar minus I plus 1. Low, current bar minus I. Okay,
It's high I. So this should
let's see. Okay, this chart. So it looks like it's running fine now. Oh, never mind. I lagged out again. All right, but
do the trick, and then we only have, we need the fair value gap type. Here it's easy, we check if it's a fair value gap up, then we have fair value gap up as a type, otherwise we have fair value gap down. So now we fit all the member variables for this fair value gap, and now we can go ahead and say fair value gap draw. Time should be, let's do something like time I plus, I don't know, period seconds, period current, multiplied with 10, so just 10 bars. So if we compile this, and I hope that I didn't mess it up, but yeah, then we should see a lot of fair value gaps displayed in the chart. Isn't this crazy how easy this was? So you don't have to search the whole day for fair value gaps. You can just write.
all right. Now we just do our separate draw fair value gap. Then we add our time, high, low, the date 2 is going to be 10 seconds past.
Isn't this crazy how easy this was? So you don't have.
What is he doing? So somehow it's just plotting a set amount. So it'll just do time plus how can I add 10 seconds? Add seconds. So we'll add minutes, 10 minutes. And then type. And that should be good.
Multiplied with 10, so just 10 bars. So if we compile this, and I hope that I didn't mess it up, but yeah, then we should see a lot of fair value gaps displayed in the chart.
So now let's see if ours works. Go ahead and compile that.
Isn't this crazy how easy this was? So you don't have to search the whole day for fair value gaps. You can just write a easy indicator with 50 lines of.
It's still loading. So I'm going to just open up a new chart. Now let's load up the indicator. Okay, there we got something, at least. Another. Jeez. Not enough quota. I'm guessing that means it ran out of space. Don't know what that means. So at least we're getting something. Um, but it doesn't look right. So, I mean, a couple of them look good, like, except it's starting on the wrong bar. Let's see something. So, this overlay, want that true. Then, so when it's a down, then it's orange. No, when it's up, it's orange. So, that's right. That's right. So we want this just to be, so here the low I, and that matches up here. So we want this in here. But then we want the high I, which is this, here. And then just current bar minus I. Let's compile that. Okay. I mean, that looks a little better, right? I don't know why they're all so small, though. Because shouldn't this one be more like this, right? Oh, shoot. Like that. Starting here. And then same with this one. Should be like top here, bottom, in line with that. At least that's what I thought is how a fair value gap works. So that would be an issue with the highs and the low.
period current, the whole day for fair value 60, 70, whatever. But it's really easy and quick, and it can save you a lot of time. So this is the power of programming. And yeah, this is why you should definitely check out the link in the video description. You will learn so much. It will boost your trading like crazy. In my opinion, every trader who's how you can find these fair value gaps and display them in the chart. But this program is not perfect so far, because for what I wanted to do is, or what I did for the finished product here already, I added some more things. First of all, we can have a fair value gap filter. So we can say something.
Alright, well, so we definitely have some error in here. Because for one, these are all too small. And yeah, then we don't get it. Then we don't get any L in here. And I mean, right? Shouldn't this be a clear one? Yeah, so we definitely have some error. But this video is already very long. So I think I'm gonna stop here. And then I'll be gone for a week, so I won't be able to do a part 2 for a while. But let me know if you want a part 2, and we can work on getting it fixed. I mean, one thing I already know we can do is every time we have a new fair value gap, we can print everything. So we'll print the high, low, time, and the type. And then we can track pretty easily what's going on. And that should help us in seeing what the issue is. So here I'll put, to remember what we left off on, fair value gap boxes are being shown incorrectly. I think it has something to do with the indexing. Then we'll put, so we just ended off on 32nd minute. And compile. So yeah, that's where we'll stop. Thanks for watching the video. Hopefully, I mean, if you made it this far, you learned something and kind of showed you guys how this. I mean, this is exactly how I learned how to code. Just watching videos, just copying them, tweaking little things. And I mean, already in this video, just from watching this, like I learned. I mean, understood this class a little better, how to use it. I mean, also this question mark thing. I've never used that before, but now I mean, I think I get it. It's just if it's true, then do the first. If it's false, then set it to the second, which is kind of nice. And yeah, I mean, basically, that's how I learned how to code. So hopefully you guys can also take this and learn something from it. And yeah, thanks for watching. Peace. Please like, and subscribe if you haven't already.